Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. New York, early afternoon. The streets were noisy, filled with the familiar mix of honking horns, the smell of coffee, and hurried footsteps. Clara Thompson walked briskly, her worn shoes tapping the pavement with a fragile but determined rhythm. Her mother was sick, her apartment tiny, and every dollar she earned at the Midtown coffee shop meant more than anything. She wore her only ring, a simple but precious one, inherited from her grandmother. Engraved inside was a mysterious inscription, "The heart always guides." Clara sometimes smiled at this sentence, remembering her grandmother's advice, "When in doubt, let your heart show you the way." That day, fate knocked on her door in the form of a dapper young man, Ethan Blackwood. A young billionaire, heir to a colossal fortune, known for his cool demeanor and relentless business acumen, he entered the cafe like an unexpected wind. The customers noticed him immediately, his impeccable clothes, his intense gaze, and that aura of quiet power that made heads turn. As he bent down to pick up a fallen napkin, Clara stumbled slightly, and the ring slipped from her finger, rolling across the floor to Ethan's feet. He picked it up, intrigued, and stared at the inscription engraved inside. His eyes widened, and for the first time, he showed any emotion other than the cold calculation that dominated his face. Clara, red with embarrassment, murmured, "That's all I have." Ethan looked at her for a long time. There was something in the simplicity of this gesture, in the fragility and dignity of this young girl, that awakened in him a curiosity he had never felt before. He did not yet know that this ring, a simple metal band in the eyes of the world, held a secret capable of changing his life and Clara's forever. That day, in that lively little cafe, their paths crossed, and an improbable event began, a story of secrets, hearts, and destiny. The next morning, Clara Thompson woke to sunlight filtering through the holy curtains of her apartment. Her mother coughed lightly in the next room, and Clara felt the weight of responsibility still weighing on her shoulders. She had no time to complain. Every day counted, every hour a struggle to survive and support her family. The atmosphere at the cafe was as usual, a mix of whistling coffee machines, hurried customers, and background chatter. Clara put on her rumpled uniform, adjusted her only ring on her finger, and took her place behind the counter. Then the door opened and the world seemed to slow down. Ethan Blackwood entered. The man's every movement exuded power, his perfectly tailored clothes, his solid gold watch, his erect posture that commanded both respect and curiosity. He paid no attention to the customers around him, but his eyes scanned the room with a cold, almost surgical precision. Clara felt her heart beat faster. She'd read about him in the newspapers and on social media, a young billionaire who seemed to have everything he wanted, yet who remained mysterious, distant, and elusive. She forced herself to breathe calmly, to keep her nerves from showing. By a strange coincidence, while she was serving coffee to a customer, the ring slipped off her finger. Once again, it rolled to the floor, the small piece of metal shining like a sign of fate. Ethan instinctively bent down and picked it up. His eyes fell on the inscription engraved inside, "The heart always guides." A shiver ran through Ethan. He wasn't one to be amazed easily, but those few words, simple and powerful, awakened something in him. He looked up at Clara, who was looking at him, blushing and embarrassed. "That's all I have," she whispered. Ethan smiled slightly, a rare, genuine smile. "So you're offering me something precious," he said softly, his eyes never leaving hers. This seemingly innocuous encounter marked the beginning of a strange and irresistible bond between two completely opposite worlds. For Clara, there was the fear of being approached by someone so different from her. For Ethan, there was curiosity, the feeling that he had just found something that no money could buy, a true spark of humanity and mystery. And, without them knowing it yet, the ring she wore was the key to a secret capable of changing their destiny forever. In the days that followed, Clara couldn't help but think back to that encounter. Every time she tightened the small ring on her finger, she remembered Ethan Blackwood's gaze, intense, penetrating, and filled with a curiosity she'd never seen in anyone before. Ethan, on the other hand, couldn't stop thinking about Clara. In his world of wealth and power, he was used to getting whatever he wanted. But something about Clara's simplicity, her fragile yet firm dignity, fascinated him. The ring she had dropped seemed like a symbol, a mystery he needed to understand. One morning he returned to the cafe. This time he sat down at a table near Clara and looked at her with an intensity that made the young girl shudder. "Hello, Clara," he said calmly, his voice steady but charged with a strange energy. Clara, surprised, stammered a timid, "Hello." Ethan continued. "I couldn't help but think about your ring. You said it was all you had, but I feel like it has a bigger story." Clara looked down, hesitant. She wasn't one to talk easily about her private life. But something about Ethan's sincere attention reassured her. Finally, she whispered. "It's an heirloom from my grandmother. She always told me this ring had a secret." Ethan smiled slightly, intrigued. "A secret," he repeated, as if tasting the word. "I would very much like to find out, if you would be so kind as to tell me." Clara, wary but curious, agreed to share a little of her past. She spoke of her family, her difficult life, her ailing mother, and the sacrifices she made every day. Ethan listened attentively, never interrupting, taking note of every word, every expression, every flicker of emotion. During that impromptu lunch, a fragile but powerful bond began to form between them. Ethan didn't just see a poor girl in front of him, he saw an inner strength, a light that couldn't be bought with $1,000,000. And Clara, for the first time, felt she could trust someone other than her family. Little did she know, that trust would be tested much sooner than she imagined. The ring on her finger, simple and silent, shone softly in the light of the cafe. It almost seemed to whisper to them, "The real secret is yet to be discovered." A few days later, Clara decided to reveal the secret behind the ring to Ethan. The young girl invited him for a walk in a small park, away from the hustle and bustle of the cafe and the city. The trees offered a rare sense of privacy, and the light breeze made the leaves swirl as if to accompany her story. "This ring," Clara began, turning it gently between her fingers. "It belonged to my grandmother. She told me that this ring held a secret, something that could protect those who possess it." Ethan looked at her carefully. He wasn't one to believe in family legends, but he sensed the sincerity in every word. "Protect, from what exactly?" he asked, curious but cautious. Clara shrugged, worry in her eyes. "I don't know exactly. My grandmother never wanted to tell me. She just said, 'Your heart will guide you when the time is right.'" Ethan was struck by the depth of this sentence. In his world of contracts, investments, and numbers, he had never encountered something so simple and powerful. He felt that this ring, and Clara herself, represented a mystery he needed to understand. As the conversation progressed, Clara shared memories of her grandmother, how she had survived incredible hardships, always guided by her instincts and her heart. Ethan listened, fascinated by the inner strength of this family, by the resilience of this young girl he had met by chance. As they walked, Ethan noticed a peculiar shine on the ring. He took a magnifying glass from his pocket, he always carried small gadgets for his work, and examined the inscriptions closely. Beyond the engraved phrase were tiny symbols he had never seen before. "These symbols," he murmured. "They look like a code, a hidden message." Clara stepped back slightly, surprised. "A code? I never noticed that." Ethan nodded, his eyes shining with curiosity and excitement. "It's not just a ring. It contains something we need to discover together." For the first time, Clara felt that this encounter was not simply a coincidence. The ring was not just a jewel, it was a bridge between two worlds, a mystery capable of changing their destinies. And, without knowing it, they had just laid the first stones of an adventure that would mix danger, secrets, and unexpected feelings. Over the next few weeks, Ethan returned to the cafe again and again. Each visit was a mixture of intrigue and unexpected moments. Clara, initially wary, began to feel a strange warmth at his mere presence. Every smile, every silent glance, every word exchanged seemed to forge a fragile but powerful bond between them. One afternoon, as the rain fell gently on the cafe windows, Ethan sat down at his usual table. Clara poured his coffee with a slight tremor in her hands. She had never felt this mixture of excitement and apprehension with anyone. "Clara," Ethan began, his voice softer than usual. "Ever since we talked about your grandmother and the ring, I can't get you off my mind." Clara looked down, her heart pounding. She wanted to run away from this closeness, to protect herself, but a part of her wanted to stay, to discover what this budding relationship had to offer. "Ethan. I don't know if this is a good idea," she whispered, her voice trembling. Ethan leaned down slightly, placing his hand on hers, a simple but emotional gesture. "I don't want to rush things, Clara. I just want to get to know you, really." From that moment on, their bond changed. The moments they shared were no longer just conversations about the ring or the past. They spoke of dreams, fears, hopes. Clara discovered that Ethan, despite his wealth and cold exterior, had vulnerabilities, doubts, and a humanity he hid from the world. But this fragile bond attracted the attention of those observing Ethan. Business, power, wealth, all of these had enemies. And in the shadows, someone was beginning to notice the presence of Clara, a simple, poor girl, so close to the young billionaire. Clara sometimes felt insistent stares, whispers in the street, but Ethan was always there, silent but protective. This bond, woven by curiosity and trust, would soon be tested by outside forces. The ring shone softly on her finger, as if to remind Clara that every gesture, every decision, every emotion was now linked to something greater. The mystery was no longer just in the jewel, but in the path they would travel together. A few days after their bond had strengthened, Clara began to feel a restlessness she couldn't explain. In the streets around the cafe, she sometimes felt insistent stares, silhouettes that seemed to follow her from a distance. At first, she thought it was just her imagination. But one night, walking home alone, she was certain she wasn't alone. A black car slowed down next to her. A menacing-looking man got out and stared at her, his gaze hard. Clara felt her heart race. She instinctively stepped back, but the man took a step toward her. That's when Ethan appeared, as if out of nowhere. "Clara," he shouted, running towards her. Before she could react, Ethan called out to the man with icy authority. "Leave her alone." The intruder stepped back, hesitant, and quickly got back into his car. The car sped off, disappearing into the night. Clara, still in shock, turned to Ethan. Who was it?" Ethan gently squeezed her hand, his eyes full of gravity. "I don't know exactly. But I suspect someone is interested in the ring, and in you." Clara felt a shiver run through her body. The ring, which until now had been a symbol of mystery and secrecy, was now becoming a source of danger. She understood that her life, and that of her mother, could be threatened simply because she possessed this little ring. Ethan, determined, said to him, "You are not alone, Clara. I will protect you. No matter what it takes." For the first time, Clara felt the depth of his attachment. It was no longer just curiosity or mystery, there was love and loyalty, and it overwhelmed her. That night, as she held the ring to her heart, Clara realized that the real secret wasn't just in the metal or the engraved symbols. The real secret was the bond she now shared with Ethan, a bond capable of withstanding all dangers, no matter how unpredictable. And from the shadows, the man who had followed them watched, ready to strike again. The most dangerous part of this story was only just beginning. The day after the mysterious attack, Ethan decided it was time to uncover the ring's true secret. In his luxurious yet uncluttered apartment, he placed the ring on a hardwood table and took out a magnifying glass and a notebook filled with notes on ancient symbols and coded inscriptions. "This ring can't be ordinary," he murmured, studying the engravings. "These symbols look like a code." Clara, sitting across from him, watched silently. She had never imagined that something so simple, a piece of jewelry passed down from her grandmother, could attract the attention of dangerous people and conceal a complex secret. Ethan picked up his phone and contacted an expert in cryptography and ancient inscriptions, one Dr. Malcolm Harper, renowned for his unique skills in deciphering coded messages. A few hours later, Dr. Harper confirmed Ethan's suspicions. It's not just a simple engraved sentence. There's a hidden message. A combination of letters and numbers that leads to a forgotten chest, dating back decades. Clara felt a mixture of fear and excitement. A chest, with what in it? She asked. Ethan hesitated for a moment before answering. I don't know yet. But I know we have to find it. This secret is connected to your family, and maybe mine too. The two young people then began to work together, deciphering the symbols and comparing the ring's inscriptions with the ancient documents Dr. Harper had sent. Each discovery brought Clara and Ethan closer together, but also increased the mystery and danger. Meanwhile, the man who had followed them still lurked in the shadows, determined to obtain the ring and its secret. Every moment spent working on the code was now a race against time. Finally, after hours of concentration, Ethan discovered the first part of the message, a series of coordinates and clues leading to a forgotten location of his own family's old family home. Clara looked at him with wide eyes. Do you think that's where the truth awaits us? Ethan took her hand, firmly but gently. Yes. And I promise you, Clara, whatever happens, I will never leave you alone to face this. The ring, lying on the table, seemed almost to glow in the evening light. It was no longer simply a jewel, it was the key to an ancient mystery, capable of changing their lives forever. And for the first time, Clara understood that their adventure had only just begun. A few days after discovering the ring's code, Clara sensed danger approaching. She was walking home late at night, feeling terrified, when she realized a black car was following her closely. Her instincts screamed at her to flee, but panic stopped her for a few seconds. Suddenly, Ethan appeared, as if out of nowhere. Clara! Get in, he shouted, opening his car door. She complied without question. The car sped off, leaving the menacing stranger behind. Ethan, his hands firmly on the steering wheel, looked at her gravely. I told you, you're not alone. Once safely inside his apartment, Ethan began to analyze the situation. He knew that Marcus Sinclair, his business rival, had eyes and ears everywhere. He suspected that Sinclair had discovered the ring's existence and would do anything to obtain the secret it contained. Clara, still trembling, murmured. Why is all this happening because of a simple ring? Ethan took a deep breath, his gaze dark. Because this ring isn't simple. It contains something many want, and I won't let anyone hurt you for it. The next day, Ethan organized discreet protection around Clara. Guards monitored the area around the cafe and her apartment, but he knew that the threat also came from the invisible. Someone close to her could betray their secret at any moment. For Clara, it was a brutal revelation. She had lived her entire life struggling with poverty and hardship, but now she faced real, unpredictable, and deadly danger. Yet despite the fear, a part of her felt stronger. She knew Ethan would be there, and that the bond they had formed could save them. That night, watching the ring glow faintly in the light of her room, Clara understood that the real test had just begun, not only to discover the ring's secret, but to protect their bond, their trust, and their lives. And in the shadows, Marcus Sinclair watched every move, a cruel smile on his lips, ready to strike when they least expected it. After days of searching and deciphering, Ethan and Clara finally found themselves in front of the place indicated by the ring's code, an old, forgotten family home, hidden behind ancient trees and almost swallowed up by time. The air was thick with mystery and anticipation. It's here, Clara whispered, her voice trembling, but her eyes shining with excitement. Ethan nodded, his gaze serious. Let's be careful. Whatever we find inside could change our lives. They stepped through the creaky door and found themselves in a dusty room filled with old furniture and forgotten boxes. In the center, a solid wooden chest sat, marked by the years but still sturdy. The inscriptions on the ring matched the engravings on the chest perfectly. Ethan inserted the ring into a secret mechanism, and with a click, the chest slowly opened. Inside were yellowed letters, old photos, and documents that revealed a stunning secret. Clara and Ethan's families had been linked for generations by a shared past that only the ring could reveal. Clara took one of the letters in her hands, her eyes wide. All this, it's true, our families, they were linked. Ethan looked at her intensely. Yes, and now we must decide what to do with this discovery. We could share this legacy, or leave the past where it is. Clara felt the pressure of this choice. Accepting the inheritance meant opening herself to an unknown world, filled with responsibilities and dangers. But refusing it meant ignoring a precious and unique bond. After a long silence, she took Ethan's hand. I want to discover all this with you. I don't want this secret to separate us. Ethan squeezed her hand, a mixture of relief and tenderness in his eyes. So we will do it together, and no one will be able to stop us. The ring, now much more than a simple jewel, shone in the light of the old house, as if to seal their choice and their common destiny. But outside, in the shadows of the trees, Marcus Sinclair still watched. He had seen the chest open, and now he knew that the secret everyone coveted was within reach. The true test for Clara and Ethan had only just begun. The days following the discovery of the chest were intense. Clara and Ethan spent every free moment poring over ancient letters and documents, uncovering stories of their ancestors, secret alliances, and forgotten sacrifices. But danger still lurked. Marcus Sinclair hadn't given up, and every outing Clara took became a calculated risk. One evening, as they studied an ancient map revealing further clues, Clara sensed a tension in the air. Ethan. I'm scared, she whispered, her voice fragile but sincere. Ethan gently placed his hand on hers. I know, and I understand. But we've been through so much already. I'll never leave you to face this alone. To demonstrate his love and loyalty, Ethan made a bold move. He publicly announced that a portion of his inheritance would be invested to protect Clara and her family, and to secure all the secrets discovered in the vault. He was voluntarily giving up a portion of his personal fortune, even at the risk of losing public opinion and creating enemies among his partners. Clara, overwhelmed by this demonstration, realized the depth of her feelings for him. It was no longer just curiosity, adventure, or security, it was a sincere love, built on trust, respect, and loyalty. Ethan, she finally said, her eyes shining with tears. Everything you do for me. I don't know how to thank you. Ethan smiled, touched but determined. There's nothing to be thankful for. We have a bond that goes beyond money, power, or the past. I just want you to be safe and happy, with me. That night, as the city slept, Clara understood that their true test came not only from external enemies or family secrets, but from the ability to trust and love despite the risks. The ring on her finger seemed to shine brighter than ever, as if to celebrate this moment of union and courage. It was no longer simply an object of mystery, but the living symbol of a bond capable of withstanding all trials, even the darkest. And in the shadows, Marcus Sinclair was already planning his next move, ready to put their love and their lives in danger. The time for the final confrontation had arrived. Marcus Sinclair, determined to steal the ring and the secret, had set a trap for Clara and Ethan. But this time, they were prepared. Thanks to the clues in the chest and their mutual trust, they had anticipated every move. Night was falling on the old family home. Clara, nervous but determined, tightened the ring on her finger. Ethan, at her side, placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. No matter what happens, we are together. Marcus then appeared with a small team, but Ethan had planned discreet protection. The men were intercepted before they even reached Clara. Marcus, furious, tried to approach him himself, but Ethan, courageous and determined, stopped him, showing that strength lies not only in wealth, but in loyalty and love. Once the danger had passed, Clara took a deep breath. She realized that everything they had been through hadn't just revealed a family secret or protected a fortune, it had built their bond, forged their trust, and awakened a love that could overcome all obstacles. We did it, Clara whispered, her voice shaky but happy. Ethan looked at her intensely and with a slight smile. Yes, and now we can start our real life. They decided to share their inheritance, but more importantly, to build their future on the values of love, respect, and courage. The ring, once a simple heirloom, became a symbol of their union and strength. In the weeks that followed, Clara and Ethan rebuilt their life together. They combined humility and richness, past and present, mystery and truth. Every gesture, every look testified to their unique story. And every night, as she watched the ring sparkle, Clara remembered, the heart always guides. It wasn't just a story of secrecy or fortune. It was the story of two souls who found each other against all odds, who faced danger and betrayal, and who discovered that love and trust could change destiny. And for Clara and Ethan, it was only the beginning of a new life, an eternal chapter of courage, passion, and complicity.